At Harbaugh with the Midas Touch Network, we've got a special update today that is going out as both a Midas Defense and a Ken Harbaugh Show episode. This one is wild. Over the weekend, the Danish military evacuated an American sailor experiencing a medical emergency from a U.S. submarine that surfaced just 7 miles off the coast of Greenland. That is a huge deal for a U.S. nuclear-powered sub to essentially abandon its mission, which depends on stealth, and request assistance from an allied nation. An allied nation, by the way, that has been the target of vicious attacks by the Trump administration. Just a few weeks ago, I was in Denmark as part of a protest outside the U.S. Embassy in Copenhagen. The breaking point for the Danes protesting was when U.S. Embassy staff ordered the removal of flags planted across from the embassy, placed there to honor Danish war dead who gave their lives in Afghanistan and Iraq serving alongside the U.S. This is the nation, Denmark, that just came to the aid of the U.S. when one of our sailors needed help. Denmark also, by the way, answered our call after 9/11, the only time in history that Article 5 of the NATO Charter, the Mutual Defense Pact, has been invoked. And after all that, Danish war dead being dishonored by the U.S. Embassy, a U.S. sailor being evacuated by the Danish military, what was the response of our president? This. Let me be clear. This is not happening. Donald Trump is not sending hospital ships. That's what we call them, ships, not boats. They're not going to Greenland. First of all, the 2 hospital ships in our fleet are laid up. They're not going anywhere. Second, and more importantly, Greenland didn't ask for and doesn't need our help. I could launch a full-on rant about everything that is false about this wild claim from Donald Trump, but I think it's better if you hear from my friend Jacob Karsbo, who served in a senior role in the Danish intelligence service and is an expert on NATO and on Greenland security. I've spent time in Greenland and in Denmark with Jacob. He knows his stuff. Here's our conversation. Jacob, thanks so much for joining me today. A couple of things we need to check in on. The Danish military just medevaced an American sailor from a U.S. nuclear sub 7 miles off the coast of Greenland, flew them back to Greenland back to Nuuk, I believe, for medical care. Yeah. Within a couple of days, our president, Donald Trump, announces that he is sending a hospital boat, which it's not, we call them ships, but he is sending a hospital boat to provide medical care to Greenland, the same country that was required to evacuate an American sailor from a U.S. submarine. What do you make of this?
Yeah, it's really insane. I mean, the Greenlanders have not requested any assistance on health issues, and they're covered by the Danish system, which we can all here in Denmark have our debates about the flaws of our health system, but I still believe it's one of the best in the world. So really, that's quite crazy. And then when you add to the mix that we're even helping a U.S. sailor to get the treatment, then it becomes quite crazy. To me, it looked funny that it was as close to 7 nautical miles of Nuuk, because I was wondering what the hell is that sub even doing so close to Nuuk? I've heard from our good mutual friend Malcolm Nance, who used to be a submariner, that most likely this sub has been on a polar exchange where they've gone to the North Pole and back, and then because of this sailor that had to be medevaced, they would have gone to Nuuk at the closest. But still, to get even 7 nautical miles from Nuuk before they do the medevac sounds a bit odd to me. But anyway.
Yeah, no, it is odd. I checked in with Malcolm about this. I think the conventional wisdom, obviously, this is shrouded in secrecy, but it was likely a nuclear attack submarine, not one of our boomers, not one of our nuclear missile submarines, and doing one of the polar transits. But I've got to ask you in particular, as former Danish intel, if this wasn't a little bit of gamesmanship on the part of the Danes announcing this, declaring to the world that you came to the rescue of the U.S. Navy 7 miles off the coast of Nuuk. I hope that's what you're doing, because this very easily could have been kept secret, but it's exactly the kind of stick in the eye that Donald Trump deserves as he's boasting and blustering about American military power and threatening war with Iran and offering to send hospital ships to an island that hasn't requested them and doesn't need them.
And has stated that we only have dog sleighs up there for military capacity. It wasn't a dog sleigh that rescued this submariner the other yesterday, in fact. No, I think, of course, that's part of the game. So they've used it to show, well, no problem by us. We help our allies of sorts, and then we get them out of trouble as an ally would do. Now I'm hearing some words from Greenland that there have been subs observed around Nuuk within the last 2 weeks. This is not confirmed as yet, but I'm trying to get it confirmed, and then we can log up again. So that's a little bit of a teaser for our listeners here. But let's see, because if that's the case, this whole explanation of the polar trek is really off the table as I see it.
It's Ken with a quick break to tell you about my Substack page, where you'll find bonus episodes and other exclusive content. And subscribing is a way to support this show directly without us having to rely on advertisers. For those of you who have signed up, thank you so much. It is growing harder and harder to rely on traditional media. Just look at what has happened over at CBS. So independent news is going to have to make up the gap. And if you believe in what we're trying to do here in the interviews and the commentary that this show brings you, please consider pitching in. It's free to sign up, and that itself is helpful because popular shows get recommended even more people. And if you're able to afford a paid subscription, they start at $8 a month. Every dollar goes back into what we're doing. Thanks for helping out.
So we'll try to get that confirmed. But again, regardless of what it was, of course, from the Danish side, we published it. It was the Arctic